Hey, we have something new here on the Cardfellas Show. It's called a Cardfellas Short or a Cardfellas Shorty, whatever you want to call it. But it's our chance to talk some cards on a less in-depth scale. We usually go into a set at great length. This episode or this version of our podcast and our video cast, we just go into a couple topics and we call it a shorty. Chris, how you doing?
It's living the dream. Usually we do this at night, so it's kind of interesting to do it with some sunshine behind me.
Right. We're normally nocturnal animals. So we're going to talk about two topics today, and then we're going to leave you with some of the things that we're on in the hobby. We're going to talk about the value of LeBron James card in comparison to Tom Brady cards. And we're also going to talk about the current state of Wander Franco's 2022 Top Series 1 card. But first, let's talk about the debate over LeBron and Tom Brady. Now, I read an article on Golden that brought an interesting question up. It was, does LeBron James cards catch up to Tom Brady's cards eventually? They had facts and figures and data that showed LeBron and Tom Brady's cards were kind of at that same intersection point as far as value. And then all of a sudden something happened in February that shot Tom's value way up. He won his 7th ring. So when that happened, his cards completely outpaced the value of LeBron's cards. And it got to the question, are LeBron James's cards undervalued? And they brought up 2 points. They said, LeBron James may be poised to have a uptick in the value of his cards. And they said the one reason was that LeBron is kind of honing in on the scoring title, NBA overall scoring title over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So they speculate by next season, if LeBron stays healthy and continues to play at the pace he'll break Kareem's record. And they're saying the hobby likes that when that happens, when a athlete overtakes a prominent record and they feel like that is a prominent record, the players' cards go up. The second thing is LeBron James has an exclusive autograph deal with Upper Deck. Upper Deck hasn't produced cards since 2009. So some of the LeBron cards that you're looking for are several years old and they only come from Upper Deck. So they're putting those two topics together, or 2 reasons together why they believe LeBron could be poised for an uptick in value come next year. My question to you, Chris, is do you think LeBron James is undervalued, and do you think he has any chance to catch Tom Brady?
Yeah, so that trajectory was kind of moving even, and then all of a sudden, Super Bowl February 2021, Tom's cards shot up. Obviously LeBron hasn't won a championship since we've had this whole pandemic card thing. And obviously, there's been some social things that he's been involved with that, when you do stuff like that, it's polarizing. There are people who like that and want, to them, it makes the card even more in demand. And there's other people who don't want him because of that. But the other thing I think that plays into this is, LeBron has moved around throughout his career. He's broken hearts when doing that. I know obviously the first time he left Cleveland, I think it was a big surprise. It was a big, for TV moment. I'm taking my talents to South Beach kind of thing. It was kind of I think to him, I think if you asked him if he should do that again today, I think he'd say probably not. It was one of those things that I think he was excited about it. I think it was something that he thought, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to go and play with Wade, and we're going to win a championship, and this is going to be cool. And I don't think he really thought about how Cleveland was going to react to that whole thing. Yeah. And obviously he came back and kind of vindicated himself. And I think those finals that they played against the Warriors, it was one of those deals that, I just remember, I think the last time they did it, he carried that team on his back. Literally. So, it led to a heroic moment, but then again, he left again, and now he's with the Lakers. And, the Lakers have had a lot of different people. They've had Magic, and they've had all these stars, and now you've got LeBron, where I think if you look at Tom Brady with the Patriots, before he was there wasn't a ton of success there. I know they went to a couple Super Bowls before Brady. They didn't win either one of them. Obviously, the quarterback, when they played in the 80s, that guy was not a star. Drew Bledsoe was probably a star in the making before he got hurt. But Tom Brady, even though he left the Patriots to go to Tampa, he was with New England for so long. And I think when he left, it was one of those things that it was kind of like, yeah, we've done this so many times. Maybe it's time that we all move on. So, but I think the Boston fans still love Tom Brady. I think the Boston fans still feel like he's their son. He's their guy. And you're always going to have that built-in market for Tom Brady in Boston. And now you just have another one in Tampa. But I think the other thing is you look at Tom Brady who's won 6 Super Bowls. I don't think anyone's ever going to touch that. With the NFL, you lose once, you're out. It's not a best of 7 or best of 5 type of series. You got one chance to win, and if you don't get it done, you're out. And even with LeBron, with all the success he's had and the championships and the scoring titles and all this stuff, the reality is there are people who have more championships than he does, lots of them. So I think that part of it, Brady wins that as well. So, I think LeBron is going to be a guy that probably, won't. To me, I'm still a Jordan guy. I don't think LeBron will ever reach Jordan heights, but he's definitely going to be, a top 5 guy collectability wise as we go into the future and we all become old and decrepit.
I have to fact check you on one thing. Tom Brady actually has 7 rings.
7 rings.
I had to look that up. He had 6 with New England. It's the 7th that put him over the top. But you're absolutely right about LeBron James, and you mentioned it at the beginning of this conversation. He's polarizing, and there's some people that love him. There's some people that absolutely despise him, and there's a lot of vitriol towards him, and so they love seeing him fail. The one thing I will say about LeBron, and I am a fan of LeBron, I don't take any of his politics into account. I know, if you're listening to athletes or actors tell you how to think, you're probably not very smart. So I kind of leave that off to the side, and I watch and like to judge them on what they do on the court or on the field or whatever the case may be. And the way I look at LeBron James is his high school games were broadcast when he was 16 or 17 years old, and he was being hyped up as the next superstar and the chosen one. And I think he's lived up to much of that hype. He hasn't been caught up in many scandals, if you will. And I'm sure there's a lot of people looking to dig that up, but he's brought on a lot of this stuff himself too, like you said. So I think that's part of it. I think when you start doing that, the people who collect are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so I think that's what's the difference between LeBron and Brady. I think the other thing too is, you mentioned it, Brady has 7 rings. Nobody else has that here. And I looked this up too. There's 26 guys in the NBA who have 5+ rings. LeBron has 4, and there's 14 guys that have 4+. So there's 40 guys in that fraternity of 4+. So he's not unique that way. He's a unique scorer. He's a unique individual. He's a unique talent. Now, I will say this with one caveat. If he goes out and joins a team and becomes a champion again, and the NBA scoring champion again, now he's in the same company as Kobe and Magic with 5. And if he gets another one, let's just say, hypothetical, he ends up on a team where he doesn't have to carry the load. He isn't on a team with Russell Westbrook and a oft-injured Anthony Davis, and he wins a couple more rings, and now he's at 6. He has the scoring title. I think this conversation shifts tremendously, and he goes out with a little bit more fanfare. Then I think it changes. And I will tell you one more thing. I'm going to do this before we go into our next one. I found a LeBron James rookie card with a population under 100 and not many 10s. Right. They're the big cards from the box set of his rookie. So I've got these graded recently from PSA. One's a 6 and one's a 9. So, and they're on sale on eBay, or for sale on eBay. I'm trying to figure it out here, for about $20. So population under 100 right now. eBay or PSA will grade those. So if you are a LeBron collector, go check those out. I found that interesting. Kind of cool.
Those look like they would be cool just to have on the wall.
Yeah, they are big, nice, big slabs. They look cool. So Just got back those from PSA. So, well, that pretty much wraps up the conversation of Tom Brady versus LeBron. We think that Tom Brady's cards are going to still continue to outpace LeBron's for a while.
Yeah, I think the other thing to think about there is you and I just spent 10 minutes talking about that. I would guess that LeBron hasn't spent 10 minutes thinking about the values of his cards.
No, probably not. He is a collector of his own cards. He did say that. So that's an interesting aspect.
I've seen a few quotes from him where they've talked about some rare LeBron cards, and he'll just be like, "Yeah, I might have a few of those.
Those are sitting in my vault," which is always cool to hear.
Yeah, let's talk about Wander Franco a little bit. Back in February, we talked about his 2022 Topps card, the PSA 10, selling for $2,000, and we kind of thought that was pretty hilarious in that we kind of thought the card would land at around $150, and that's about what it is right now. We're still trying to figure out why somebody would pay $2,000 for it. Obviously, It was the first card graded, but I think, in a year from now, it will just kind of be run of the mill, just like every other PSA 10 in that card out there. I don't think anyone's going to think about that. But what do you think about that card now that it's kind of settled in and we're actually playing some real baseball games now as well?
Yeah, I think the big thing now is watching the Wander Franco on the field and see what he can do. But I think that card is going to be so often graded, and you're going to see the population report just continue to tick up. And even if he has, let's say it goes on to have MVP type of year and a Hall of Fame type career going forward as well, I don't see that card going much higher than $150 to $200. This is not something I would invest in if I'm a long-term collector. The way I look at this card is the same way we should be looking at the Ken Griffey 1989 Topps Traded card right now. That card's a top 10 most graded card. The only difference between that card and Wander, I would say, is it doesn't cost $8 to get a Wander Franco card graded. So the cost of grading might keep that population down for a while, but we have talked about it on this show. The print run of that card is going to be massive. So everybody's going to own that card. And if grading costs ever do come down to a point where, it's $20 to $25, you're going to see a lot of people send those Wander Franco cards in and the population report. But the way I look at this is that $150 mark is probably where it's going to stay. And again, that Ken Griffey 89 Topps Traded is kind of what I compare it to long term if you're looking for an investment. So I'm not buying.
Yeah. One of the things that I would tell people, and I keep every rookie or prospect card that I get out of a pack. I just put it into a kind of a 100 count plastic thing and just kind of store it away and pull those out, maybe once a year and just kind of go through them. And I did that a week or two ago and found some 2020 Bowman Wander Franco cards, which I was pretty excited about. And then I started looking up, what those were selling for on eBay, and it was about $2.
I know.
So, that 2022 Topps card that we keep talking about, these growing print runs right now, is selling for more than that prospect card. So I think if I was out there and looking to invest at least in the raw stuff of Wander Franco, and even the graded of those cards is far more affordable than the Topps card. That's the way I would go, because we know the print runs are going to be lower. You look at how things have gone over the last few years as the hobby has kind of exploded. There's just fewer of those cards out there. I was actually looking at the values of those blaster boxes from 2020. And I remember trying to get some of that Bowman stuff. It was hard to find in retail. And right now, the blaster boxes from that Bowman product in 2020 is selling for about $80. And the mega boxes are up around $200. So the value of that stuff, certainly in sealed, is still, through the roof. But the fact that you can kind of get the number one prospect out of that set raw on eBay now for a couple bucks, to me, that's a buy.
Yeah. And I think that's the interesting part about that is wax. Wax is still expensive, but what are you really trying to get out of those boxes at this point? Autos and numbered cards. Mm-hmm. Those are really the kind of the draw, and the likelihood of you getting that is really rare. And you and I talk about this all the time. Buying boxes, that's probably the biggest gamble of anything. I would say that's a bigger gamble than getting cards graded. And so buying raw cards on eBay, that's a good choice too, especially if you have identified the cards you want. But I think the Wander Franco way to go, if you feel like this guy is the next great Hall of Famer and could be a multi MVP candidate, buy the numbered cards, buy those short prints. I think that's the way to go. But get ready to pay a premium. And if he doesn't pan out, those cards are going to flop, and the value is going to go down. So I think it's definitely buyer beware on him. And Ronald Acuna is another guy. I think his values are very high right now. So I think they're tremendous upside, but the downside right now just feels just a little bit heavy. And I know we like to end this segment too. We're going to end this on and it's a good segue. What are you on? What are you watching in the hobby? What are you doing? What are you looking at on eBay? And this is a good segue, Chris, because I know what you're on. But why don't you tell our listeners what you're on for today?
Yeah, we were talking about Franco and Acuna being high right now. So who can you buy low? And I think right now the guy to buy low is Luis Robert. I think if you look at kind of those sabermetric type stats from last year, and I know if you look at the normal stats, you go, boy, he was down. He obviously was injured. But if you look at those kind of nerdy stats, he actually still had a pretty good year. So I think if he comes in and he's healthy, I think he's going to have a big year. And right now, those cards are super affordable. You can pick up PSA 9 rookie cards, for under $15 shipped right now. You can pick them up $8, $9, $10 plus shipping. The 10s are going for under 30. So that's to me kind of the sweet spot. And I think he's going to be very similar this year to what Vlad Guerrero was last year, where he has that bounce back year and the cards really go crazy. So that's who I'd go with.
Yeah, I think that's a really great call out. I think his injury last year really kind of stifled the discussion that he was going to be a good young superstar. And I think people forgot about him, quite honestly. And to see him back healthy and playing again, that's something I definitely will be watching for this season. One of the things that I'm on at this time right now, as we head into almost the off season for hockey, is a guy by the name of Trevor Zegras. He's a young superstar from the Anaheim Ducks, and I think he's got long-term potential to be the face of the NHL. He reminds me, if you're not familiar with hockey or the NHL, he's kind of like that John Morant. He will do some of the more unique skills on the ice during the game that other players just can't pull off. And so I'm seeing young kids. I have two younger boys that play hockey. They watch this guy and they're like, did you see what Zegras did last night? So he's one of those highlight guys. And we've talked about it on this show too. Guys who are highlight guys, think about the one-handed catch by Odell Beckham, what that did for his career, right? And so you start thinking about guys like that have more mass appeal. Now, again, it's hockey. It's a distant fifth behind soccer, maybe even sixth. I don't even know where it is in the hobby rankings. But I think when you look at future potential, I think Trevor Zegras is there. His team is not very good. That's the one issue. You're not going to see him in the playoffs. But he is a guy who has that potential, and I'm starting to buy that. So I got this in a blaster box, which was awesome. And these are selling for anywhere between $65 and $100 on eBay. But I also got some of these on eBay, and I bought these. I was buying these for about $8 to $10. These are the die cut. There's a die cut rookie card placed in some of the boxes as well. So you can buy some of those inserts and other cards. There's a couple of other like Dazzler and other cards for him as well. So some good value there from the hockey perspective. And I just I like buying the cards of the guys that we think are going to pop eventually. And maybe we sit on them for a little bit, like you said. I think, Chris, your advice was great. Hold on to those prospects. You never know when they're going to pop, especially baseball, right?
For sure.
That's the big sport that you really want to hold on to your cards and just see if these guys develop.
Yeah, a lot of these guys that end up being rookie of the year, they've got prospect cards going back 5-6 years. So especially if you're buying Bowman stuff, save everything that says prospect, because you never know when that card comes back. And you find sometimes you get these autographs of guys you never heard of. And in football, I would say, that's probably not a lot of value there. But in baseball, it's like you never know when the next year that guy's going to be the number one prospect in the club. So keep an eye out for those guys.
I think that happened once in football during our collecting career, and it was 1999 Upper Deck.
I know what you're going to say.
Little guy named Tom Brady. Everybody was collecting Chad Penningtons and Tim Couches, and nobody really was collecting those Bradys. And so you had to go back and dig. So, yeah, keep your prospects, keep your rookies. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this new episode, Cardfellas Shorty, where we take a little bit less of time to discuss a couple topics. We're going to try and do this a little bit more often. And we'd love to hear your feedback. We love to hear the comments. We love to hear what you guys have to say. We're on podcast platforms, wherever you get yours, the Cardfellas Show. We're also on YouTube, the Cardfellas channel. As you know, we also do a live show, 10:30 Central Standard Time on Wednesdays, where we talk about a specific set that we really dissect, go in depth on. This week, we're talking about 1978 Topps baseball. So we'd love to hear your feedback. What are you guys interested in hearing about? Now that we're starting to get a little bit of a following, some people are commenting. We'd love to know what you guys want to hear about. But thanks for listening. We always appreciate it. Have a great day.